2024 is here, and I don't know about you, but I am kind of in shock that 2023 ended so quickly. But here we are. We are at the start of a new year, and I don't know how you feel at the new year, but I am someone who always has rose-colored glasses on at the beginning of a new year. I love the new year. I love the start of anything. I love New Year's. I love the start of a school year. I love the start of a new month. Like, that's just who I am. And whether you are that person or not, in this episode, we're going to dive into how you can really attack a new year, set personal goals, and live your life on purpose. I am so inspired to make this such an incredible year for myself, and I want to bring you along with me on that journey and have you excited and empowered to do the same thing for yourself. Let's go. Most of my episodes are for leaders or people who lead other people, such as parents or coaches. This episode is for anyone who is on a growth journey in 2024, whether that be growing into the person you want to be, or growing in your health journey, growing in your personal journey, growing in your professional journey. Whatever it is, this episode is for you. I'm going to give you 3 different activities that you can do at the start of 2024 to truly set yourself up to accomplish your goals this year, and maybe even accomplish some of your life goals faster than you ever thought possible. I'm going to start with a little story because I know I sound like I'm on fire, but let me tell you what happened earlier today. About to get extremely vulnerable with you and share something with you that I just don't come clean on very often. And so here it goes. I sat down today to do one of these activities that I'm about to share with you. And as I started to do this activity, I stopped. I just stopped. I could not do it. And I was getting super frustrated that I decided to grab my journal and just write down what was going on. And here's what I wrote. January 1st, 2024. I'm recognizing a fear over writing down my goals. I don't remember this happening in the past as it has happened in the last few years. And I'm not talking about big goals, just little things I want to accomplish. And I've noticed in the past when I went to write down and then I talk about the strategy, I never, ever finish it. In this journal on December 31st of 2022, I have the words, "Dear Anne, you did it." And then nothing else. It's so strange. I want to go after big goals. I'm pumped to see what the future holds, and I'm energized to help people, but I fail to commit an attack. For one activity that ends today, I am going to write my letter to myself for 2024. I need to push through this tension and do the things. I need to reach the milestones and feel the purpose that I was put on this earth to do. When I feel tension, from now on, I will push and persevere. And that's where the good stuff will be. And let's go. 2024, no more fear. The reason I read that to you today is because I went to do one of these activities and I just couldn't do it. I first learned about this activity back in 2019. And so the activity is this. You write yourself a letter as if the year is over. So typically you do this and you date it December 31st at the end of the year. So December 31st, 2024, right? I first heard about this in 2019. And I started my letter and I wrote, "Dear Anne," and I wrote December 31st, read this on December 31st, 2020. And then I didn't write anything. I actually have lines through it in my former journal, just lines scribbled through it. And I never actually wrote it. In 2020, after a crazy hectic year, right? That actually would have been really comical to read the 2019 entry for 2020. Anyways, in 2020, I went to write the 2021 letter and I didn't do it. I even had an accountability partner. She wrote hers. She took a picture of hers. She sent it to me. And I was like, yep, I'm going to get to mine. Never wrote it. And then again, in 2022, I literally wrote, read on December 31st, 2023, which would have been a couple days ago, right? And the letter says, Dear Anne, comma, you did it, exclamation point. The rest of the page is totally blank. I never finished it. And I just want to take a second to dive into this. I don't know if it is fear of failure. Am I afraid that if I write a goal down and I don't achieve it, that I've failed? Or is it kind of linked to that at the same time, but this perfectionism that if I write it down, it has to be perfect and I have to reach it in a very specific way. So if I don't write it down, I don't have to do it perfectly. I don't know. Or is it simply that I am not someone who thinks long term? I think I've said that on the podcast before. I am just not someone who thinks long term. I like thinking in 1 month chunk of time. That's it. Like for the month of January. And I can get excited and I can create lists and I can create a schedule and a plan. But the second you say, hey, Anne, let's plan out your June of 2024, I'd be like, whoa, what? Why? Way too far out. 6 months from now? No way. And so today I wrote that last line. When I feel tension, I will push through and persevere. And that's where the good stuff will be, Anne. So what did I do? I turned the page and I wrote my letter. And I wrote, Dear Anne, it's December 31st, 2024. And let me tell you, this year has been full of big achievements and memories that will last a lifetime. In this letter, I talk about business. I talk about the podcast. I talk about my relationship with my husband and my kids. I talk about the memories we make. And in the end, I tell myself, I'm going to tell you here so I can hold myself accountable, right? I tell myself that at the end of December 2024, I have already set up my 2025 for success. So something interesting about the speaking world is you typically are getting hired months out in advance, right? And so not only do I do culture coaching with individuals on a weekly basis, I also go out and speak, and I speak to companies, I speak at conferences, and it is on my big bucket list to speak on stages to thousands and thousands of people. And for some reason in my brain, I have to slowly work up to that goal, which is kind of ridiculous, right? There are people who go apply to be on the TEDx stage, and they get millions of viewers on their YouTube videos, right? And so millions of people see them speak. And it doesn't need to be this big ordeal that you work yourself up to. So I don't know why I do that in my head, but for some reason I do. So on that note, I am really going to be on a mission in 2024 to schedule out my 2025, because most of those really big gigs, those really exciting stages at conferences, leadership conferences, right? They're booking those a year in advance. So if I want a gig in January of 2025, I need to be seeking that gig out in January of 2024. And so I am really trying to think almost more than a year in advance, like a year, 2 years in advance as I set my goals today, which is just almost funny. It's funny that setting 1 year goals was like pulling teeth today, but thinking about my next year's goals was like super easy. So I don't know where you're at. Are you in the weeds? Are you like, why even set goals, Anne? Why even do this? I know I'm not going to achieve it. Is that a belief of yours? Are you sitting there going, oh, this year is going to be tough. Maybe there's some big changes happening in your life coming up, and you just don't even know how you would pivot around those changes, or how you're even going to get through those changes and those challenges coming forward? Or are you in a mindset of like, this is my year. I am going to do everything I can to truly change my habits or my mindset or my situation. I don't know where you're at. Here's what I do know. Here is what I do know. And tears are perking in my eyes right now. You are in control. You are in control of tomorrow, of next week, of the month of January, of the year. You truly are. Now, that does not mean situations are not going to fly at your face at 1,000,000 miles an hour. But you are in control of your mindset. You are in control how you show up every day. You are in the best place to learn and grow right now, right at this moment, right as you are listening. You are in the best place to move forward. And you might be feeling super stuck and you're like, Anne, I'm in the worst place. Guess what? Being stuck means there's only one way to go. There's only one direction to go. And that is to move out of that position of feeling stuck, right? And it might not happen today and it might not happen tomorrow, but it will happen. You can't stay stuck forever, right? And so no matter what you've been feeling, maybe you had a rough December. Maybe you're walking into the new year feeling blah. You have a choice right here, right now, to set your year up for success. So let's dive into a couple different activities that I've done differently throughout the years that have really been not only inspiring and empowering and exciting, but also just a lot of fun to create. And if you are definitely in a time where you are feeling stuck, especially creatively, sit down and do this activity, some of these activities, because they will really get your brain moving. And I really want to encourage you, something I did one of these activities earlier today, and I found myself like thinking too much. And I was literally like, why are you thinking so much? It is just an activity. You may never look at this piece of paper again. Stop acting like this is written in etched in gold, right? Because it's not. It's just something you're doing on January 1st. And so I'm going to start with the letter. Writing a letter to yourself and spelling out what you want and acting as if you've achieved it. I recently was in a coaching session and I was talking about how stuck I feel with social media. If you are following me on social media, maybe you have a different view than I do. But I'll tell you right now, I know that there are hundreds of ideas that go through my head, and I maybe post one of them a week. That's how stuck I feel with social media. And the coach that I had said, okay, then act like it's the end of the month and that you've posted every single day and that you have shared your heart, that you have helped people, you have served people, you have educated people, you have helped people feel empowered and inspired. Come from that place when you sit down to work on your social media account. And I was like, oof, what would that even feel like? What would it feel like to know that the work is done? And so that is how I am going to be pushing forward in so many different actions that I need to take throughout my month, is really acting like it's already done. Kind of like I told you. In that letter, I wrote that not only did you have a great year, you set yourself up for 2025. And so having that belief in my head that I've already set up 2025 with a full calendar of gigs, like just think of how I'm going to attack my year differently in 2024, right? And so in this letter, you are writing from emotion. You're telling yourself not only what you accomplished or what you did, but how it made you feel. Because emotions are really going to evoke a response out of us. The other thing to remember, if you have not heard this, the brain cannot decipher between imaginary and real, right? If you go to bed every single night and you picture your life a year from now, and you picture the best possible scenario for yourself, your brain goes into sleep believing that that is what your life looks like. And so just think of how that could boost your mood. It could boost your decisions. It can change how you act and how you think. So really step into that December 31st, 2024 version of yourself as you are writing this. Now, an idea about this letter is some people seal it up, put it in an envelope, and don't touch it. That's one way you could go about this. Another thing that might be even more powerful is to read it at the start of every month. So read it on February 1st and March 1st and April 1st, right? And put an alarm in your phone, like read your December 31st letter. The reason to do that is it's going to stay front of mind of the things you told yourself on January 2nd when you wrote this, on things you said you were going to achieve, right? Because sometimes we write things in a state of mind, and then if it's out of sight, out of mind, we don't go back to it. And so if you were feeling really pulled to write that down in that letter, seeing it over and over and over will help your brain make decisions, right? It'll turn your RAS, your reticular activating system, to those activities, or even activities that'll get you to those goals. And so that would be my suggestion for you. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back to this every time I write in my journal. I've earmarked the page so I can come back every time during 2024 that I write a journal entry, that I can come back and read through. It's not long. It's 2 pages, and just breeze through it and be like, yes, that is where I'm going. So what am I going to do today to get closer to achieving what I wrote down in that letter? So that's step 1. Write yourself a letter, acting as if the year is done, telling yourself about the things you've achieved, the trips you went on, the emotions you felt, the relationships that, really transpired or got deeper. Okay. That's activity number 1. Activity number 2 is something that I have done for probably 6 years. Yeah, 2017 was the first year I did it, and it's 2024. So for 6 years now, at around the new year, I have written my bucket list for the year. So many of you, I'm sure, have heard of a bucket list, things you want to do before you kick the bucket. Well, here's a quick tip, and I'm going to talk about Jesse Itzler in a little bit, and a podcast that you can listen to. But I just re-listened to this podcast, and there's something he said in there that's not related to what I'm going to talk about later. So I'm going to drop this in here right now. If you wait until you have time to achieve that bucket list, your body may not be able to do the thing on that list. For example, if I say I want to climb Machu Picchu, okay, so that's something I definitely want to do in my lifetime, is go down to Peru and climb Machu Picchu, not just go to Machu Picchu on a bus. I want to climb Machu Picchu. And am I going to be able to do that at 70? I mean, maybe if I get my health in check, right? But the likelihood of me wanting to hike up a mountain, miles and miles and miles, basically straight up a mountain, is literally going to have to be sooner than later. The likelihood of me wanting to do that at 70 is slim to none, right? And so if I wait until I retire and I wait until my grandkids don't need me anymore, I'm going to be old, and that bucket list item is not going to be achieved. And so what if we look at things we want to do right now this year? Okay. And so that's what I've done before. I've had a 2018 bucket list and a 2019 bucket list, a 2020 bucket list. And on the bucket list, I usually list between 25 and 50 things. I think the first year I did it, I tried to have 50, and it was just too many things to keep track of. And so later on, I dropped it down to 25 or 30 things. And I want to tell you that in 2017, I accomplished the most things on my bucket list. And that was only 19 things. And I think it's because of a couple reasons. Number one, I wrote that bucket list while I was teaching, and I put it up on my wall with the rest of my students' bucket lists. So I had them do the very same activity over New Year's break. Actually, they came back from New Year's break, and it was an activity we did in our leadership class. And then we posted them up on the wall. And anytime you achieved one of the things you said you wanted to achieve, that year you got to go up to the wall and color it in or cross it off or whatever. Some of them did pictures, some of them did words, whatever. And that year I posted mine up on my bulletin board right behind my desk. So I got to see it all the time. And I did some really big things. That was the year I bought a brand new vehicle. It was the year that I went all in on a business and started saving. The idea that year was that I would save so much money per month. And I went all in on a business and was able to make the amount of money I said I wanted to save. So it really helped me out. It was just an incredible year, and it was a year focused on like little things. One of the things that year is I wanted to make a pie for the first time. And now I can make a pie in my sleep because I learned how to do it in 2017. And so this bucket list has been really, really fun. And I want you to think about little things that you can do, that you could do like on a Saturday morning, but also big things. Is there somewhere you want to travel? Is there a road trip you want to take? Is there a place you want to take a parent of yours or a kid of yours that's local, but that you just haven't taken them yet? That's the kind of stuff you add on this bucket list. And now, sure, you could put a huge thing on there too. You could put meet the man of your dreams or meet the woman of your dreams, right? And honestly, having your RAS set on these 25 things that you want to do is going to help you make time for it, help you look for ways that you could do this thing or achieve this goal. And so that one has been really, really fun. My friend Jamie and I usually do that together and create our list. I'm going to see her this week. So I hope to get my 2024 bucket list created by the end of the week with that. That's number 2. So write yourself a letter, number 1, bucket list, number 2. The next one kind of goes hand in hand with that, but I just heard this recently and I was like, oh my goodness. It was a business mogul who said that he did this like 20 years ago and he is so close to finishing his list. So very similar to a bucket list. Instead of things I want to do before I die or things I want to do before I kick the bucket, he wants you to write down 300 things that you want to experience. 300 things. And he says, I know, it's a lot. It's a huge number. The goal is that if you're only focused, let's go back to my bucket list thing. If you're only focused on 25 things, you won't dream big. You'll stay small. You'll think about things you can accomplish very quickly. And he says, no. Let's say you get the opportunity to only accomplish 300 more things in your life, only do 300 more things. What would those 300 things be? You're on your deathbed and you're ready to go because you've accomplished these 300 things. So I started mine today. I got to like 78, I think. And it was pretty wild to be like, oh man, where do I want to travel? And I started my list. I got 31 done in like a minute. 31 places I want to go. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, are these the only locations I'm going to go for the rest of my life? No. Wait. So I thought of some more. Then I started writing down things I want to do with my kids. And at first they were like a girls' trip with Ella, an overnight girls' trip. But then pretty soon it became like things I want to do with them, things I want to see with them, things I want to experience and have them there with me. And so that really started to shift this list. And I honestly think if I would have only been asked to write 50 things, I would have never gotten to that point in my list where I went, wait, it's not just about a girls' trip. It's about these bigger ideas. And I don't want to say what they are in my head out loud because I want you to be thinking for yourselves, not just based on things that I'm thinking with my kids. But it's even, I want to watch them walk at graduation. That was like one of them that I wrote down. I want to help them move into their first house. Like these are experiences that I am excited to share with them, right? So get outside the box. I truly thought 300 things is going to be wild. But the more I started writing, the more my brain shifted from like the little things to really big moments that I truly hope to experience with the special people in my life. So 300 things you want to experience in your lifetime. His advice, which I thought was kind of wild, was to read it every day. Now, I'm not going to lie. My list of 78 is already on 2 pages. And I was like, if I wrote down 300 things, we're talking like 8 pages, right? But what if you did read it every single day? Like, that would be wild to me, to take 3 minutes, 5 minutes, right? And go through your list. And then his plan, of course, is then get going. Which one do you want to accomplish first? Go do it that day. Go do it that week. Go do it that weekend. Go do it that month, right? Instead of waiting. When I retire, when the kids move out of the house, when my kids get old enough to watch themselves. Waiting is not the way to live, right? I believe I'm going to title this episode Living Life on Purpose. And that's what I think about with these 300 things. So 300 things. I'm going to give you one last one that kind of merges almost all of these together. And this comes from Jesse Itzler. He is the owner of the Atlanta. Oh man, I looked it up right before the Hawks. Okay. I was going to say the Falcons, and I'm like, I know that's not right. He's the owner of the Atlanta Hawks. He is an entrepreneur, American business guy, and he lives a crazy lifestyle. Like, he is so active. He is living life on fire. Not even living life on purpose. He is living life on fire. If you are looking for an episode that is just going to pump you up to go out and take intentional action every single week to truly live the life of your dreams, you need to go listen to his podcast episode with Ed Mylett. So it's the Ed Mylett Show, I believe. And the episode is called The Entrepreneur Success Formula in 3 Simple Steps. Now, I don't know who named that episode. That's not what it should be called. It should be called Go Live Your Life Like This Right Now. I'm just kidding. But it is a dynamite episode. Now, I re-listened to it just to tell you that the first 20 or so minutes are all about entrepreneurship. And some of you are not on that journey. It's a really interesting story. He actually started his own jet company without any money. Literally started flying people on private jets. He's not a pilot. Okay. So it's a crazy story. But after 26 minutes in, that's when he talks about really being intentional with your time, the food you eat, the people you hang out with, the activities that you do to go live the life of your dreams. And within the first 5 minutes or so, I think it's around the 30-minute mark, he talks about how he sets up his calendar. And so I can't really give you much more on this other than he started a company he started He started a product. I mean, it's a product you can purchase called the Big Ass Calendar. That's right, the Big Ass Calendar. And it's a one sheet poster that folds up into something you could carry with you every day, but it unfolds into a big poster that has every single day of the year on one side of it. It also color codes all the weekends. And his message is like, go write this list, right? Go write your bucket list, go write your 300 things, whatever it is, and now go plan it. Go plan it. And he says, I could watch football every single Sunday. I could sit around in my flannel pants and I can watch football every Sunday. Or I can plan mini trips every single Sunday. I can go to different museums. I can go to different nature places. I can go hiking. I can go for a run. I go do these things on Sundays instead. And so he really has this outlook on go out and be intentional with your time and plan your life. And plan your life to win at life. It's not about making money. It's about experiences. In the episode, he talks about some guy, I believe it was a financial planner, asked him, hey, when you die, what do you want to give your kids? Do you want to give them all the money you have? Or do you want to give them experiences to truly live life and do different things with you and on their own? And he was like, hands down, it's not about money, it's about experiences. And so that's where this idea kind of spurs from, is like, what experiences could I go and have instead of sitting on the couch every night and watching Netflix for 4 hours? What kind of things could I be doing that fill my cup up instead of watching football all day on a Sunday, right? And so to truly like schedule your happiness and schedule your purpose and schedule these experiences. So this really is exciting for me to plan. Last year, I really tried to be intentional about getting together with more people more often. That was kind of my goal for 2023. And every single time that I did, I put it on this big poster on the back of my office door. I also kept track of all the books I read and all of the different state parks that I went to. And so I kind of had this visual on the back of my office door of all of my goals as I was reaching them, or as I was taking action on them. And so something to think about for you, if you're like, man, I want to travel more. Or I have a friend of mine who is trying to go to every single Minnesota state park in 3 years, right? And so every new state park, she puts it on a checklist. I think she has like a list of all the state parks, or maybe a map of all the state parks, and she colors it in as she goes to all of them. But after going to a few of them by herself, she like posted out to social media and was like, as much as I want to go to these state parks, it's really that I want to go experience these state parks with other people. And so then she actively sought out people to come with her to the different state parks based on either where they lived or where she lived or whatever. And so it's just kind of a cool idea of like, what do you want to do? And go do it. And then track it so that you know you're doing the things. Instead of just saying like, I'll get to that. I'll get to that. I know that in the middle of the summer, right? You walk around and you talk to people and you say, how's summer going? And they're like, fast. Oh, it's going so fast. And that answer always frustrates me. Always. 100% of the time. Because when you tell me it's going fast, instead of telling me it's been awesome. I went here. I did this. We went to this carnival. We went to this fair. We just got done on this family vacation. That was so much fun. We made so many memories. And all you tell me is, it was fast. It was busy. I get so sad thinking about like, are you in the present? Are you enjoying yourself, right? Or my other favorite as a teacher especially is you get to like the end of July and people are like, so are you ready for the school year? And in Minnesota, we still had like 5 weeks of summer. And so it was like everybody was always pushing for the next thing, for the next thing, for the next thing, instead of like being intentional with their time and enjoying their time and enjoying. I live in Minnesota, and oh my goodness, if you are not enjoying summer in Minnesota, like, I feel so bad, because we have fall, winter, and spring, and some years fall, winter, and spring can all feel the same, cold and dreary. And the summer is just so beautiful in Minnesota, and I get so sad when people aren't out enjoying it. Now, granted, yes, I know some of us have to work, but like I just said, then plan those weekends, plan those Thursday night ball games or those Thursday night brewery trips, right? Whatever it is, but plan to enjoy your life instead of letting your calendar and your busyness take over. Which of these do you feel called to do? Write yourself a letter, make that bucket list, write that list of 300 experiences, or even that big ass calendar idea, setting up your calendar, filling your weekends and your free time with things that truly fill you up. I want to know if you try one of these activities. Can you please, after you tackle one of these, take take a picture of it, send me a screenshot. You can hit me up on Instagram at AnnVote. You can send me a message over on Facebook. You can go to the Impact to Influence Facebook page and shoot me a message there. You can also always send me an email. It is impact@annvote.com. That's ANNVOTE. I want to know which of these were you drawn to. Maybe you don't want to share your list, but just tell me. Just shoot me a message and say, I just wrote my 300 things and oh man, am I pumped for life. I just want you to think about taking the time to do this activity and being intentional with your actions. Like, what does your year look like? What does 2024 truly look like if you are intentionally filling your calendar with things that fuel you? If you are going after those new experiences on that bucket list of yours, if you are chasing a goal and you achieve it this year, like what does that feel like? And what if this activity that you do right now in January of 2024 sets you up to finish the year checking those things off your list? What if it works? What if it works that you do this activity now and you feel that way that you write about in that letter? Or you cross off 50 things from that 300 things list because you are in attack mode, because you know that life is short. You know that this could be your last year on earth. And you take the opportunity that you have in front of you. And maybe some of your big things cost a lot of money, but it can also be in the little things. Like I said, one of mine was bake a pie from scratch, right? Today, I made pizza dough for the first time, January 1st, 2024. And I decided I was going to do a new activity, right? A new experience. And mine was going to be to make pizza dough from scratch. And it was delicious, friends. What did I have on my pizza? Something very controversial, I am sure. It was pepperoni. It was black olive. And then it was pineapple. That's right, friends. I'm one of those. You can take me or leave me. But it was a new experience. Literally started off the year doing something I had never done before, and it was thrilling. It was super fun. Halfway through, I was like, this is never going to proof up. This did not work. I added the oil at the wrong time, and clearly this isn't going to work. And guess what? Sure did. It worked great, and it was delicious. And both Ella and Brian and myself were like, we're doing this again because this was great. So what are you going to go out there and do? What are you going to go attack? What are you going to go get done? What are you going to go accomplish that you've been saying for years is something you wish you could do or something you want to do, right? Also, take a moment. Jesse Itzler talks about this in that episode. Again, it's an Ed Mylett episode from 2019 with Jesse Itzler. But he talks about if your parents are at an age where they could be gone sooner than later, really think about adding experiences with them in your list because they might not be here next year. They might not be here in 5 years. And they definitely aren't going to be climbing Machu Picchu with you, right? And so what type of experiences do you want to have with them while they're still here with you, while they're still able-bodied and while you are too? So really get creative with your list. But the whole goal, the whole reason I did this episode, especially at the beginning of the year, is just really think about you are in control. You are in the driver's seat, and you get to choose what your year looks like. Now, granted, things could happen. I get that. But you truly do have the choice at your fingertips right now. I hope you go out there, and I hope you take it. 2024 is going to be an incredible year, and a way that you can help this podcast specifically is to go leave a review. You can review this episode or this podcast. You can share this podcast on social media. If you can tag me, great. If not, no worries. Help other people see this message and start to really see a shift in their mindset and in their growth. And that's what we want, right? We want to to go out there and we want to create change for others. And there is a way that you can help them do that. Connect them to this episode or this podcast or other things that you're reading or other things that you're listening to. That is how we can truly help others on their journey while we grow in ours. Thank you for being here, and go out there and continue to create change.